If you're over 60, the food on your plate in the 2 hours before bed might be doing more for your brain than every supplement bottle lined up in your bathroom cabinet. Not a multivitamin, not a fish oil pill. Actual food eaten at the right time, working with your body's own overnight repair system. 5 foods, all backed by real peer-reviewed research, no guessing, no fabricated numbers. Most people eat none of them before bed, and the food at the very end of this list will probably surprise you. Before we get into it, drop a comment and tell me how many hours of sleep you're actually getting right now. I read every one. Leafy greens work through a pathway most people never connect to sleep at all. Spinach, kale, and collards are dense in vitamin K, folate, lutein, and dietary nitrates, compounds that protect neurons from oxidative damage and support healthy blood flow to the brain. Nitrates in particular relax blood vessels, which means more oxygen-rich blood reaching brain tissue overnight, right when your brain is doing its heaviest repair work. Picture a woman in her late 60s who came into a clinic worried about forgetting names mid-conversation. Nothing dramatic, just small, frustrating gaps. She wasn't sleeping badly, and she wasn't eating badly either, but her plate rarely had anything green on it beyond a garnish. That's a common gap, and it's an easy one to close. In 2018, a study published in the journal Neurology, led by Dr. Martha Claire Morris at Rush University, followed 960 older adults aged 58 to 99 as part of the Rush Memory and Aging Project. Participants who ate about 1.3 servings of green leafy vegetables per day showed a rate of cognitive decline slow enough to be equivalent to being 11 years younger than participants who rarely ate them. That's 11 years of cognitive protection from roughly half a cup of cooked spinach a day. That number matters because it reframes what protecting your brain actually looks like. It isn't a dramatic intervention. It isn't a dozen supplements. It's a small, repeatable choice that compounds over years, the same way small deposits compound in a savings account. The actionable version of this: add half a cup of cooked spinach or kale or a full cup of raw salad greens to your dinner. That's the serving size tied to the research. It doesn't need to be exotic. A simple sauté with olive oil and garlic works fine, and the fat actually helps you absorb the fat-soluble vitamins in the greens. Worth knowing, if you take a blood thinner like warfarin, vitamin K can interact with how that medication works, so sudden big swings in leafy green intake matter more than the greens themselves. The safer path isn't avoiding greens. It's keeping your intake roughly consistent day to day and looping your doctor in if you're planning to increase it. If you'd rather sidestep the question entirely, bell peppers and cucumbers offer some overlapping antioxidants with far less vitamin K. As always, this is general, research-based information, not a personalized medical recommendation. Check with your doctor before making major dietary changes, especially if you're on medication. But greens alone don't explain everything happening in a healthy aging brain. Food number 4 works through a completely different mechanism: fat, the right kind of fat. Walnuts are one of the only common foods that contain meaningful amounts of alpha-linolenic acid, or ALA, a plant-based omega-3 that becomes part of the actual structure of your brain cell membranes. On top of that, walnuts contain polyphenols that fight inflammation and, curiously, a small natural amount of melatonin, the hormone that helps regulate your sleep-wake cycle. Think about how differently walnuts get treated compared to, say, a bag of chips at 9 at night. Both are just a snack. Only one of them is quietly feeding the fatty structure of your neurons while you sleep. 2 lines of evidence back this up. First, a study using the nationally representative Health and Retirement Study tracked 6,639 U.S. adults aged 50 and older. Researchers Bishop and Zuniga found that people with high walnut consumption, at least 1 serving per week, scored significantly better on word recall and overall cognitive status than those who ate none. Second, in the long-running Nurses' Health Study, women who ate 5 or more servings of nuts per week scored on cognitive tests as though they were roughly 2 years younger than women who ate none at all. 2 years of cognitive youth from a handful of walnuts a week. That's not a cure, and no honest researcher would call it one, but it's a low-effort trade most people are simply not making. Putting this into practice, 1 to 2 ounces of walnuts, roughly a small handful, as an evening snack is the range tied to most of the research. Plain, unsalted, and unroasted preserves the most nutrients, though roasted works too if that's what gets eaten consistently. Tree nut allergy takes walnuts off the table entirely, and that risk should always be taken seriously. No food is worth it. Ground flaxseed or chia seeds sprinkled over yogurt offer a comparable plant-based omega-3 without the allergy concern. And because walnuts are calorie-dense, if you're managing your weight or blood sugar closely, stick to the 1-ounce end of that range rather than snacking freely from the bag. This information is educational, not a substitute for guidance from your own physician or dietitian, particularly if you're managing diabetes or a heart condition. Walnuts protect the architecture of your brain cells. Food number 3 protects something else entirely, the delivery system that keeps those cells running. And it's not a snack at all. It belongs in your dinner plate. Fatty fish supplies DHA and EPA, the 2 long-chain omega-3s that make up a striking percentage of the fat in your brain's gray matter. DHA specifically is a structural component of neurons, not a bonus nutrient, but part of the actual building material. There's also a newer piece of the puzzle. During deep sleep, your brain runs a cleanup process called the glymphatic system, clearing out metabolic waste, including proteins linked to Alzheimer's disease. Healthy fat intake supports the vascular and cellular health that process depends on. Imagine 2 neighbors, similar in age, similar habits, except one has grilled salmon twice a week for years, and the other hasn't eaten fish since a childhood dislike of it stuck around into adulthood. On paper, they look alike. Underneath, their brains have been getting very different raw materials for decades. A 2023 meta-analysis, pooling data from 48 studies and more than 103,000 participants, makes a strong case here. Higher dietary intake of omega-3s, and DHA specifically, was linked to a meaningfully lower risk of dementia and cognitive decline. Dietary DHA intake was associated with a 27% lower risk of dementia and a 24% lower risk of Alzheimer's disease. Among adults 65 and older specifically, the reduction in cognitive decline risk was 23%. Sit with that for a second. Nearly a quarter reduction in dementia risk, tied to something as ordinary as what's on your dinner plate twice a week. The practical version: aim for 2 servings of fatty fish per week, a palm-sized portion of salmon, sardines, or mackerel, ideally as part of your evening meal rather than a bedtime snack, since these aren't foods most people want to eat right before lying down. Baked, grilled, or pan-seared all preserve the omega-3 content better than deep-fried preparations. A couple of caveats worth knowing. Larger fish, like swordfish or king mackerel, carry more mercury, so smaller fish, like salmon and sardines, are the safer, regular choice. And if you're vegetarian, vegan, or simply don't enjoy fish, algae-based DHA supplements are a well-studied alternative that delivers the same omega-3 without the fish. It's also worth flagging: if you take a blood thinner or have an upcoming surgery, talk to your doctor before significantly increasing omega-3 intake, since high doses can affect clotting. This is general nutrition information, not a personalized medical recommendation. Fish feeds the structure of your brain, but the next food on this list does something almost nobody talks about. It works directly on the clock that controls when your brain actually falls asleep in the first place. Kiwifruit is one of the few fruits with a documented, measurable effect on sleep onset. Not sleep quality in some vague sense, but the literal number of minutes it takes to fall asleep. It's rich in serotonin, along with antioxidants like vitamin C and vitamin E, and folate. Serotonin is the precursor your body converts into melatonin, which means eating kiwi in the evening may give your body extra raw material for the hormone that actually triggers sleep. That connection to memory matters more than it sounds. Deep sleep is when your brain consolidates the day's experiences into long-term memory. If falling asleep takes 40 minutes of lying awake staring at the ceiling, that's 40 minutes stolen from the sleep stages your memory depends on. Speeding up sleep onset isn't just about comfort. It's about protecting the window your brain needs to file memories away properly. Lin and colleagues at Taipei Medical University ran the core study in 2011, having 24 adults with self-reported sleep problems eat 2 kiwi fruits 1 hour before bed every night for 4 weeks. The results were tracked using sleep diaries and wearable actigraphy devices, not just self-report. Sleep onset latency, the time it took to fall asleep, dropped by 35.4%. Time spent awake after initially falling asleep dropped by 28.9%. Total sleep time increased by 13.4%, and sleep efficiency improved by 5.4%. Those aren't small numbers for something as simple as fruit, and unlike a sleeping pill, there's no grogginess the next morning to contend with. Eating 2 kiwi fruits, skin on if you can tolerate the texture, the skin adds extra fiber and antioxidants. About 1 hour before bed is the actionable fix here, and it's the exact protocol used in the research, so there's no guesswork involved. One caution: kiwi allergy is more common than people expect, often showing up as tingling or itching in the mouth, sometimes called oral allergy syndrome, especially in people with existing allergies to latex or birch pollen. If that's you, a small serving of berries or a banana offers some overlapping serotonin and antioxidant benefits without the allergy risk. And if you're on blood thinners, know that kiwi skin does contain some vitamin K, so consistency matters more than avoidance. Again, this is general research-based guidance, not a diagnosis or personalized treatment plan. Talk to your doctor about your specific situation. Kiwi speeds up the moment you fall asleep. But there's one food that does that and something more. It's been studied specifically in people over 50, and the numbers are, frankly, the most striking on this entire list. Tart cherries, not sweet cherries, specifically the Montmorency variety, are one of the only natural food sources that actually contains measurable melatonin, alongside tryptophan and serotonin. On top of that, they're loaded with anthocyanins, the antioxidant compounds that give them their deep red color and help lower inflammation throughout the body, including in brain tissue. What tends to surprise people, doctors included, is how solid the research actually is here. This isn't a small cherry-picked internet claim. A pilot study, published by researchers including Pigeon, and a later 2018 study by Lasso and colleagues, specifically studied adults aged 50 and older with chronic insomnia. Participants drank Tart cherry juice, about 8 ounces in the morning and 8 ounces 1 to 2 hours before bed, for 2 weeks. The result? Sleep time extended by up to 84 minutes, along with meaningfully improved sleep efficiency, measured using the Pittsburgh Sleep Quality Index, a standard clinical sleep assessment. That's 84 extra minutes of sleep from cherry juice in adults over 50, exactly the population this video is for. Think of it this way. This isn't about chasing a perfect 8 hours on a tracker. It's about giving your brain's overnight repair and memory consolidation process more uninterrupted time to actually do its job. An extra hour of sleep, most nights, adds up to hundreds of extra hours of brain maintenance over a single year. In practice, that means about 1 cup of unsweetened tart cherry juice in the evening, ideally an hour or 2 before bed, or a handful of frozen tart cherries if you'd rather eat than drink. Make sure the label says Tart or Montmorency. Regular sweet cherry juice doesn't carry the same melatonin content and won't replicate these results. One important caveat: Tart cherry juice concentrate can be surprisingly high in natural sugar, so if you're managing blood sugar or diabetes, whole tart cherries or a heavily diluted unsweetened juice is the safer choice over a full glass of concentrate. And because tart cherries are relatively high in potassium, anyone with kidney concerns or on certain blood pressure medications should check with their doctor before making this a daily habit. Please treat this as educational content grounded in published research, not a personalized medical recommendation, and loop in your doctor before changing your diet in a meaningful way, especially if you manage a chronic condition. So here's the full list: fastest sleep onset food to the biggest overall reveal. Leafy greens for long-term brain protection, walnuts for cell structure, fatty fish for nearly a quarter reduction in dementia risk, kiwifruit for falling asleep faster, and tart cherries for up to an extra 84 minutes of sleep a night. None of these require a prescription. None of them require you to overhaul your entire diet overnight. Pick one, add it this week, and build from there. If this helped, subscribe for more research-based videos like this one, and let me know in the comments which of these 5 you're adding to your routine tonight. This video is for general educational purposes and isn't a substitute for personalized medical advice. Always talk to your doctor before making significant changes to your diet, especially if you take medication or manage a chronic health condition.